So Ayesha, tell me a little bit about yourself growing up. What was life like? What was your family like?
I come from a feudal background. Life, when it started when I was young, was very different from what it is right now. I came from a background where oftentimes girls are not made to go to school or, not be educated or have a career focus or anything like that. I fortunately came from a household, a set of parents who thought a little differently. And, my father was a bureaucrat, we moved a lot in different cities. But I was fortunate that because of his exposure and what his background was, he was able to lift me away from the feudal background and more into a conventional life where I got education just like my brothers did.
So was it hard for them? Like लोग आपके family में नाराज होते थे इस बात से कि अब ये होगा कि बेटी भी जाएगी और इतना पढ़ेगी, ऐसे कभी रेजिस्टेंस आती थी?
बहुत ज़्यादा. So स्कूल जाने तक तो ठीक था. स्कूल जा रही है, it's fine. I was in a girls' school, that's all right. I went to a college where, there were male students as well.
Co-ed.
So co-ed tha. So that was another issue my parents had to go to. I was one of the first back in the day when bade wale phones aate the to get a cell phone. So my parents got a lot of pushback. Sometimes family would say, we don't want to talk to you, we don't want to send our daughters to your house because you're the way you are raising your daughter, it's not the right way. But over a period of time, फिर ये था कि सबको समझ आने लगी, और फिर थोड़ा करके everyone else started giving exposure also. I'm very thankful and grateful to God that because of me being an example in my family, there was comfort that my relatives got to let their daughters go to school, let their daughters have cell phones as well. And in my own way, me and my parents in our own way have brought in a little bit of a change in our family.
Of course, उनके लिए कितना मुश्किल, because already raising children is not an easy task. But then to have all your decisions for those children questioned.
Yeah, it was tough.
But then you saw so many people who you loved, for example, your parents, fighting for you.
Yeah.
Is that what inspired your work?
That's what inspired me to be sure that I want to work and become an example, a good example for others to let their daughters from a similar background go and study and educate themselves as well. Yes.
So tell me a bit about your work. What do you do? When did you start it? And what have you been doing?
So my organization works on, in the well-being of mother and child health, with a focus on family planning and contraception, use of contraception, because we believe that if a woman gets to space between children, she can have a healthier life.
Yeah.
Not just a healthier life from her body perspective, but also a healthier relationship with her own children. My story back from that perspective is very different also. I had my first son. I was diagnosed with subfertility. I was told I was infertile. I went for treatment, like 4 years of not having a baby and then eventually having a baby. So, miracle for us, right? That there's a baby now. At that time, I started getting this advice from everyone that, जितने बच्चे करने हैं उतने जल्दी कर लो. क्योंकि I was working also.
और दोनों साथ
पल जाएंगे. I had my first baby, didn't take any precaution, didn't really realize. And 3 months into my, after my son was born, I find out I'm pregnant again. And no one had told me about contraception.
I just want to ask, and you had given birth in the city in Karachi?
Yes.
And that's despite the fact you must have gone to an urban hospital.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Despite all of that, we weren't ready for another child. My husband and I went through a very difficult time where initially he was like, I don't want another child. And that's fine because I got married at the age of 19.
Oh, wow.
He's my age fellow. So he was of the same age as well, right? And, at the age of 20, 22, 23, when you have a child, he was like, I'm not even settled enough to handle 2 kids.
Yeah.
There was talk about should we, what should we do? Again, we didn't know of any options. And finally we decided that we'll have the baby. One thing that I always remember, and I always quote this, which hurts me now, is I was in the hospital, and you know how they bring the older brother to come and see the new brother, right? So my mom brought him, and he was like just doing this to his younger brother, and someone, I think my mother-in-law said, "Sure, you're the bada bhai." And for a moment, like, it hit me. This is a 1.5-year-old child. And from now onwards, he has a responsibility of a bada bhai.
Yeah.
Because there, too, mashallah, now he's 15 years old. To date, expectations from him, from everyone is, you're the bada bhai. So you have to give up on this. You're the big brother. You have to give up on this, Attention got divided. Now, a 1.5-year-old cannot really understand what's happening because you're the center of attention. Suddenly there is another child, and now that child is getting the attention. So I looked at all of those things. I feel like not only my older one, suffered, my younger one suffered too. Because जितनी बड़े वाले को attention मिली थी, छोटे को उतनी attention मिली नहीं. और वो इतने back to back जब होते हैं ना, तो unfortunately नहीं करना चाहिए और नहीं होना चाहिए, मगर माँ बाप को पिक करना पड़ता है कि मेरा फेवरेट कौन और आपका फेवरेट कौन.
हो जाता है, I think naturally.
Because attention देनी है ना. So my husband is giving attention to the older one. I am bound to give attention to the younger one. And that actually then creates your relationships.
Yeah, and I also feel like sometimes it also leads to one child feeling neglected and then exhibiting the signs of it, and then मज़ीद वो बच्चा बेचारा जब अपने दिखाता है कि मैं neglected हूँ in many different ways, by disobedience or by aggression, then that child gets even labeled and forgotten. Exactly.
Yeah, and it's a vicious cycle. So you see, if you have 2 kids who are spaced, healthy, 4 साल का डिफरेंस है, let's say for example 3 साल का डिफरेंस है, तो आप बड़े वाले को जब समझाते हैं तो वो छोटे वाले की वो थोड़ा बहुत समझ सकता है, या उनकी जब बीच में लड़ाई होती है तो आप थोड़ा डिटर्मिन कर सकते हैं एज अ पेरेंट कि when they are back to back, how do you determine who is right, who is wrong?
Because and how do you explain it to them?
They're almost the same mind. Yeah. They're almost the same. In almost every household or in your family, you'll find out that there is at least one unplanned child. So I did this with my parents. So I went home and we were on dinner table and I asked my mom, I said, anyone unplanned in our case? And she was like, you were. And I was like, what do you mean? And I actually felt the trauma at, like this age. I was like, what do you mean? She's like, we actually did. We'd had 2 sons back to back. I was very young myself. I didn't have the strength. I didn't want another child. And she's like, we were actually thinking of abortion. And she's like, my uncle said, what if it's a girl this time? Go for it. And she said, we said, okay, fine. And she's like, we're very thankful that we have you. But that thought stayed in my head.
It's when you said that, I just got goosebumps because I just think that now your entire career is also around helping other people make informed decisions.
Yes.
I think another thing that really comes out when we talk about pregnancies is that you're bringing an additional member into the house, which means financially also you have to think about the implications.
हर बच्चा अपना नसीब लेके आता है, ठीक है, बिल्कुल. अल्लाह ने जिसको भी इस दुनिया में भेजा है उसके लिए उसकी, and this is what I tell when I go into our communities. उसका रिज़्क अल्लाह ने लिख दिया है.
Right.
लेकिन उसकी लाइफस्टाइल, उसकी मोबिलिटी, अल्लाह ने आपको भी अकल दी है.
Yeah, and tie your camel, right?
Right. So what you need to keep in mind is God is going to make sure that child, whatever is destiny the child God has, वो उसको मिलेगी. लेकिन आपने अपनी एफर्ट भी तो डालनी है ना. अब अगर आपके 10 बच्चे हैं, आप 10 को स्कूल नहीं भेज सकते. आप You can't. Possible ही नहीं है. आप रूरल कम्युनिटी में आपकी अर्निंग इतनी नहीं है. इसी तरह से अगर आप मिडिल क्लास या उधर भी थोड़ा से उधर आ जाएंगे जहाँ अफोर्डेबिलिटी थोड़ी बहुत है, तो आपकी चॉइस ऑफ स्कूल चेंज हो जाएगी. आप में भी उतने अच्छे स्कूल में नहीं भेज सकेंगे क्योंकि आपको बाकी बच्चों के बारे में भी सोचना है. So it's about the quality of life that you can give to a child. So Pakistan has a narrative which is called tawazun. And tawazun is balance, right? I absolutely love this concept because ये जो tawazun का concept है ना, this is not to say कि मैं कितने बच्चे afford कर सकती हूँ. I can be from an affluent family एंड मैं तो 10 बच्चे अफोर्ड कर सकती हूँ, मैं तो 10 के 10 को हार्वर्ड भी भेज सकती हूँ, मैं तो उनको ब्रिलियंट लाइफ दे सकती हूँ. सो इट्स नॉट द बैलेंस दैट द वेल्थ दैट आई हैव एंड आई कैन हैव नंबर ऑफ चिल्ड्रन अकॉर्डिंगली. इट्स द बैलेंस बिटवीन मेरा शहर कितने लोग बर्दाश्त कर सकता है, मेरा मुल्क कितने लोग बर्दाश्त कर सकता है. इट्स द बैलेंस बिटवीन दैट कि इट्स नॉट जस्ट इंडिविजुअल. न्यूक्लियर से निकल के भी जब हम देखते हैं ना, तो हमारे मुल्क पे भी इसका अफेक्ट आता है. सो यू हैव टू ऑल्सो लुक एट इट फ्रॉम दैट परस्पेक्टिव. आई थिंक ये माइंडसेट हमारे मुल्क में यंगर पॉपुलेशन में आना बहुत ज़रूरी है.
And mindful planning.
Mindful planning.
Nobody's saying you shouldn't have kids. Have kids.
No. So this is again a very good point you've raised. Oftentimes हमें लेबल किया जाता है, people working in our sector, कि आप चाहते हैं कि लोगों के बच्चे ही ना हों. और उर्दू में खानदानी मंसूबा बंदी कहा जाता है, right? उसको चेंज कर दिया गया है, खानदानी मंसूबा साजी कर दिया गया है, फैमिली प्लानिंग को बर्थ स्पेसिंग पे शिफ्ट कर दिया गया है. सो इट्स नॉट अबाउट डोंट हैव किड्स, इट्स अबाउट पेस देम वेल and have the number of kids that you can actually give a better life to.
So does this kind of work face backlash? I mean, you did mention that, people do say that आप चाहती हैं कि बच्चे ना हो हमारे.
A lot. I'm very committed, so and a little bit outspoken also. But the main motivator, जिसके बाद I decided that I'm not leaving this sector, was like I told you, I come from a feudal background, right? तो हम हर summer vacations में गाँव जाते थे. And गाँव में फिर बच्चियाँ होती हैं, उनको बुला लेते हैं, वो आके हमारे साथ खेलती थी. And I used to play with this set of 5-6 girls. हम हमेशा खेलते थे. तो every summer vacation एक excitement होती थी कि अच्छा उनको बुला लेंगे and then we'll play and all of that stuff. And then for a very long time I didn't go to the village. शादी हो गई, काम, this, that or the other. When I joined this sector, तो बिल्कुल नया मैंने ज्वाइन किया था, तो मैं I went to my village. मैंने कहा मैं अपने गाँव में ना जाके थोड़ी सी insights लेती हूँ. तो I went and I said मुझे I want to meet those girls. And I got to know that all of the girls I used to play with had passed away.
All of them?
All of them. And I was like, what happened? Like, they're young girls. And could you believe it? All of them passed away in childbirth. Because किसी का चौथा बच्चा था, किसी का 5वां बच्चा था, मेरी उम्र की थी. Weak. That was the day I decided that I am going to commit myself.
Because these were your friends. These were girls you grew up with.
Yes. And I was like, I am going to work in this sector, and as many lives that I can, at least try to save, I'm going to try to save. But हमें बहुत backlash face करना पड़ता है. हमें, I won't name, but कुछ friends have said to my husband, she talks about things that, it's not religiously acceptable. Or she's too open. How can she talk about all of these things? Because a big part of talking about contraception, family planning is sexual wellness. अब हमारा तो सोसाइटी वो है जहाँ आपने अगर सेक्सुअल वेलनेस का भी वर्ड यूज करना है तो आप कहेंगे सेक्सुअल वेलनेस. I used to have people who used to come into my office and उनको मैं कुछ प्रोडक्ट्स के बारे में बताती थी तो वो कहते थे मैम हम वो ले आए हैं कॉन्डम्स. आज एक तुम ऊंचा नहीं बोल सकते हो ये वर्ड, तो इस सेक्टर में कैसे काम करोगे. हमारे यहाँ इतना बड़ा टैबू है टू टॉक अबाउट सेक्स that it's become dirty. Boys will have dirty jokes, girls will have their own jokes, but we don't talk about it as an actual important physical act which is a biological need and all of that stuff. हम इसके बारे में बात नहीं करते. तो क्योंकि हम बचपन से बात नहीं करते, बचपन में भी अगर बच्चा अपने आप को डिस्कवर करता है, प्यूबर्टी हिट करता है, वो माँ बाप से आके बात करता है, उसको कहते हैं ये बात नहीं करना. मेंस्ट्रुएशन के बारे में लड़कियों को कुछ नहीं बताया जाता. You go through trauma. It's not only not about doing, it's traumatic. It's about having it for the first time and thinking, what did I do wrong? Am I going to die? Should I tell somebody? How do I control it? It's that. It's trauma based. Like, why build trauma? Like, why start your life with trauma? और उस वक्त भी जब आपकी माएँ आपको आके बताती हैं, जो थोड़ी लिबरल भी होती हैं, वो क्या करती हैं, वो आपको या तो आके कपड़ा स्नीक इन कर देंगी, बेटा ये यूँ इस्तेमाल करना है, या आपको सैनिटरी नैपकिन दे देंगी, बेटा ये यूँ इस्तेमाल करना है. बैठ के समझाएंगी नहीं हुआ क्या है. Again, I have an experience in that. I had delayed periods. I had cousins who are like 15, 16 days apart from me. हम 4-5 cousins हैं, हम same age group हैं. अब उन सबको periods आए, normal time पे आए, और मुझे नहीं आए. अब मैं उनकी बातें सुन रही हूँ, आपस में बातें कर रही हैं, वो शेयर कर रही हैं, क्योंकि and मुझे कुछ समझ में नहीं आ रहा है ये क्या बातें कर रही हैं. और जब मैं उनसे कहती थी कि मुझे बताओ, तो वो कहते थे नहीं तुम्हें भी नहीं. सो एक तो आउटकास्ट फील होना शुरू हो गया कि ये क्या है. इंटरनेट उस जमाने में इतना था नहीं. अब अपने ही दिमाग में सोचते हैं. अच्छा, आई ऑल्सो हैड फेशियल हेयर, राइट, क्योंकि PCOS and facial hair is also a very common thing in our country. I thought I was a boy.
And nobody had talked to you about this.
Nobody had talked to me about it. For the longest time, I thought I was a boy.
Yeah.
Until at a very late age, I had my periods. And even then, I wasn't told anything about it. I was just told, ये है, and you have to use this. जब मैं अब communities में जाती हूँ अपनी, तो मैं वहाँ जाके लड़कियों से पूछती हूँ. 99% लड़कियाँ ये कहती हैं, मुझे लगा मैं मर जाऊँगी. और मेरे लिए ये होता है कि हम हमारी लाइफ ही स्टार्ट करते हैं ट्रॉमा के साथ, बच्चियों की. सो आप उसके बारे में बात नहीं करते. Anything related to puberty, anything related to sex is all गंदी बात है. तो आप बात ही नहीं करते. As a result, you will be surprised. Couples don't talk about it. They do the deed. They don't talk about it. So dissatisfaction. Either of the spouse is dissatisfied, with the physical, intimate relationship that they have. And we at our organization, like हमें ये होता है कि we need to normalize this conversation. Dissatisfied अगर आप होंगे in an intimate setting, तो वो फ्रस्ट्रेशन किसी भी तरीके से निकल के आ सकती है. अक्सर लोग कहते हैं वो बड़ी चिड़चिड़ी है.
Exactly.
वो चिड़चिड़ी है क्योंकि आपने मे बी उसके साथ नहीं डिस्कस किया है, उसकी नीड्स नहीं पूरी हो रही हैं, या वो चिड़चिड़ा है. It goes both ways.
Yeah.
We also spoke to a lot of men because we speak to women, but we were like, let's take men's perspective also. तो हमें ये पता चला कि even men have their own set of challenges. Societal expectation and pressure. क्योंकि आपने नंबर ऑफ चिल्ड्रन एंड टाइमिंग ऑफ द फर्स्ट चाइल्ड से उसकी मर्दानगी को एसोसिएट कर दिया. अब वो फाइनेंशियली अफोर्ड नहीं कर सकता, लेकिन उसको सोसाइटी को ये भी प्रूव करना है कि मैं तो मर्द हूँ, मैं तो प्रोड्यूस कर सकता हूँ. कॉन्ट्रसेप्टिव अगर यूज करने की बात आ जाए, लेट्स से फॉर एग्जांपल कॉन्डम यूज करने की बात आती है, नहीं मर्द तो इस्तेमाल नहीं कर सकता. That mindset, women are more inclined towards using it. It's mostly the mother-in-laws and the husbands जो नहीं use करने देते. So बहुत like these are kind of resistance we get. और ये मैं हर जगह की बात कर रही हूँ. I'm not talking about rural. ये खामखा का एक perception है कि जो rural communities जो है, rural communities को तो बहुत आसान है. आप एक दफा बिठाते, आप समझाते हैं, आप 4 दफा समझाते हैं, 5वीं दफा वो मान जाते हैं. क्योंकि वो तो उसके इफेक्ट्स बिकॉज ऑफ इकोनॉमिक बर्डन भी देख रहे हैं, वो मान जाते हैं. इट्स मोर दी अर्बन एंड द पेरी अर्बन्स एंड द एजुकेटेड्स जिनको मसला आता है. और ये जो पढ़े लिखे होते हैं, यू विल बी सरप्राइज्ड, ये ज़्यादा मुश्किल होते हैं कन्वर्ट करने के लिए.
No, I see these stories on Soul Sisters, and we got some of them when we did the Ask Via campaign, but also even before that, there was this whole huge, very viral thread जो बाद में लोगों ने screenshot भी कर दिया था, but it was called First Night Stories, and they were horrifying.
क्योंकि इसके बारे में बात ही नहीं होती ना.
Yeah.
आप सही knowledge, सही information, like I said, इसको तो joke बना दिया गया है. वो लड़का अगर रूम में जा भी रहा है फर्स्ट नाइट पे, तो उसको जा just
like
kill
he's
the
a
cat on the
lion.
first
Exactly.
night. Like why? The trauma,
the mental trauma.
ये आपका हस्बैंड है, आपने इसके साथ पूरी जिंदगी गुजारनी है, ठीक है, पूरी जिंदगी आपने इसके साथ गुजारनी है, और आपका पहला इंटरेक्शन उसके साथ ये है कि आपको तकलीफ हो रही है, और वो फिर भी अपने आप को फोर्स कर रहा है, और आपको लगता है कि ये मैनिफेस्ट नहीं करेगा ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम इन योर लाइफ.
You're going to be bitter about it.
You will be.
Yeah.
You will not see him as your savior. Safe space तो नहीं रही ना आपकी. तो जब आप रिलेशनशिप स्टार्ट ही ऐसे कर रहे हैं कि वो सेफ स्पेस ही नहीं है, तो उस औरत बेचारी के लिए तो वो घर सेफ स्पेस पहले दिन से ही नहीं रहा ना.
बिल्कुल.
So that's why we focus on कि talk about it, learn about it. It's okay. Manlyhood और मर्दानगी का मतलब ये नहीं है कि पहला बच्चा पहला साल होना है, पहली नाइट पे होना जरूरी है. It's about how gentle you are. Our Prophet was a gentle, thorough gentleman, right? अपनी की प्रैक्टिस कर लेना. आपने उनकी पर्सनालिटी ट्रेट तो देख ली है.
बिल्कुल, आप उसी से गेज कर लें.
एक पर्सनालिटी ट्रेट आपके प्रॉफिट की आपको बता दी गई है कि ही वॉज वेरी जेंटल. सो आपने वो पर्सनालिटी ट्रेट हर चीज में अप्लाई करनी है. एंड सबसे पहले कहाँ ट्राई करनी है? अपने घर पे, विद द वुमन यू आर स्टार्टिंग योर लाइफ विद. But unfortunately, it's completely other way around. It's more cultural than religious.
Yeah. No, I think that possibly even with this episode, there's going to be so much hopeful conversation around this.
So I always tell people कि अगर society का behavior change करना है, तो आपको urban से start करना पड़ेगा. वहाँ से ये trickle down करेगा.
Yeah.
So many times we want to do influencer campaigns and we want people to come and talk about it, because again our objective is normalize the talk. And how do you normalize the talk? Influencers के through ही कर सकते हैं ना. They flat out refuse.
Yeah.
ये तो हम नहीं करेंगे. To date we've not been able to do it.
Yeah. And I've never honestly seen even any of the bigger celebrities, the stars, the ones who seem to be so well spoken, so well read, I've never seen them promoting these campaigns.
No.
When it comes to reproductive health, even sexual wellness तो छोड़ें, वो बहुत दूर की बात है, लेकिन basic reproductive health पे भी मैंने कभी किसी बड़े स्टार का कैंपेन नहीं देखा.
It's so disappointing. Like, you have the power.
You can make such a big change with just one ad.
You can make a difference.
Yeah.
And you're not.
It'd be very interesting to see this, embedded in the storylines of dramas or short films or TV serials also, because I've seen that in Bollywood they're already doing that.
Yeah, I completely agree. What needs to be done, अपनी society को देखते हुए, अपने लोगों को देखते हुए, it needs to be done tastefully. Nobody is telling you to go and start shouting the word sex. I talk about these things because I'm like, कोई तो बात करे.
Yeah.
क्या ही हो जाएगा?
And
100
you're at a
negative
position.
comments आ जाएंगे, it doesn't matter.
Exactly. And seeing, a woman like you who is at this position, at this stature, where you're also representing a whole organization.
Yeah.
Talk about these intimate, vulnerable, and personal experiences is just so eye-opening कि किसी को भी इस चीज के बारे में, you don't have to be ashamed of it. It's part of you. It could be a part of somebody else's story too, and you don't know how yours could potentially impact theirs.
Absolutely. I'll tell you an interesting story. So I have 2 boys. Both have hit puberty. One is 15 and 14. So when my older one was 13, I, thought we need to have, we need to introduce him, to tell him about puberty and, all of this stuff. And I went to my husband, because boys hain. And by the way, my husband is very supportive of the work that I do. Like, I'm blessed that way. So I went to him and I said, can you please have the conversation with the boys? I think it's time. As a mother, I'm seeing signs and you need to have this conversation with him. And he's like, I'm not having this conversation with the boys. I have a very good relationship with them. Please, मैं नहीं कर सकता. And for a second, I was shocked. I was like, you've seen my journey. You know the kind of work that I do. And for a second, I felt a lot of failure as well. I was like, एक second, मैं लोगों का behavior change करी, मेरे तो अपने husband का behavior नहीं change हुआ हुआ. But then I took a step back and I thought to myself, no, it's not about his behavior has not changed. My behavior has not changed. Why did I expect that my husband is supposed to have this conversation with them? I'm their mother. This openness they need to have with me. Why did I not go and have this conversation with them? So I actually did. So I called my older one and I said, this Sunday we're having breakfast. You and I are having breakfast together. And I started having conversation with him. I started the conversation and he was initially like, Mom, this is so embarrassing. Can you please stop it? Don't talk to me about this. And I was like, no, this is important. अच्छा, मैं जब उससे conversation करनी थी Sunday को, उससे पहले मैंने prep किया ना कि मैं क्या बोलूँगी, what words am I going to use. Even though I work in this sector, I don't know how to talk to a teenager. how am I supposed to explain it to him? So I did a little bit of reading and all of that stuff. Anyway, I went, I had the first conversation with him. He was like, it's very embarrassing, Mom, please don't talk to me about it. I said, no, phase 1 done. We'll talk about it again next Sunday. Next Sunday, I sat with him. He was a little bit open with me. After that, mashallah, with my second one, it was a lot more easier. My sons and I have a relationship where, you know, at the age of 14 and 15 now, then when they have any puberty-related questions, they would come home and they'll be like, Mom, we need to have a private talk with you, which means they want to talk to me about it. They sit down. They don't only talk about what their issues are. They are sometimes talking about what their friends have told them, and they're saying, so-and-so is facing this, what do we do? So-and-so is facing this, and what do we do? And I became that source for them. And mere ghar mein, and then my husband became very comfortable also. When he saw कि मैंने breakthrough कर लिया और बच्चों के साथ बात कर लिया है, the conversations became so healthy. Then I sat him down one day and I told him about menstruation. I said, just like you're facing this, girls in your class are going to go through this. So when you see a girl, if there is an accident, if you see a stain, go stand right next to, behind her, tell her, whisper, don't shout, tell her, and take her to the staff room and tell a teacher. So I, you know, like my sons are now trained that way, where they are very well aware of these bodily changes are going to happen. And I think this is a responsibility of every parent. And I understand हमारी society में ये इतना easy नहीं है. Which is why, looking at all of these problem statements, my organization came up with this chatbot VIA, where we have a youth journey as well. That as a parent, अगर आप नहीं बात कर सकते, तो आप VIA के through, उस बच्चे को information दे दें. Because the issue is कि अगर वो internet पे जाएगा, तो वो overexpose हो जाएगा.
Exactly. You are the safe space,
We're
not
the safe
internet.
Space, yes. Where we are giving the information, it's the right information, appropriate information for that age. I would love for parents to use the chatbot themselves and give information. But अगर वो नहीं कर सकते, तो to the very least give access to your kids, because kids know about it. It's not like they don't know about it. They've already. But what we need to be more mindful about is that they have the right information. Overexposure का impact कभी हम सोचते नहीं हैं. क्योंकि overexposure क्या है? I'm sorry, I'm going to be a little blunt over here, but overexposure क्या है? Them getting to know about the sexual desires and all of those things through porn, which is a fantasy, which is not reality. But when they get married, their expectation from their wives is what they had learned back in the day. And that's where the sexual tension between husband and wife also come in. So I think it's very important कि हम at the right age बच्चों को ये information देना शुरू करें, so that their expectations are managed accordingly. Similarly, I think हम young girls को तो disempower कर देते हैं from a very very young age. फिर उसको 10 साल की होती है तो उसको कहते हैं तुमने बाहर जाके खेलना नहीं है लड़कों के साथ, तुम घर में अंदर खेलोगी. फिर इन नॉर्मल हमारी सोसाइटी में हम ये देखते हैं कि जो घर में खाना बनता है वो भाई की पसंद का बनता है, वो अब्बू की पसंद का बनता है. सो आपने उसकी कंडीशनिंग क्या की है बचपन से लेके, आपने उसकी कंडीशनिंग क्या की है? योर डिसीजंस आर नॉट योर डिसीजंस. योर डिसीजंस आर डिपेंडेंट ऑन द मैन इन योर लाइफ. दे विल डिटर्मिन और अदर्स विल डिटर्मिन. आप जब उसको फिर स्कूल छुड़वा देते हैं, पीरियड्स आते हैं तो कितनी लड़कियां स्कूल छोड़ देती हैं. फिर उसने कौन सा सब्जेक्ट लेना है उसमें आप डिटर्मिन करते हैं. तो एक बच्ची 7 साल की उम्र से लेके until the time that she becomes a mother herself, आपने डिसीजन मेकिंग उससे नहीं ली. वो अपना हस्बैंड तो वो चूज कर नहीं सकती है, राइट? एट बेस्ट लिबरल सोसाइटीज में क्या होता है, हमने तो जी अपनी बच्ची को डिसाइड करने दिया कि वो अपना हस्बैंड चूज करे. हमने उसको बोला ये वाला या ये वाला. दैट्स नॉट चॉइस. 2 रिश्ते आए, आपने बोला ये वाला और 3 रिश्ते वो मना कर दे तो उसके कहते हैं चौथे से तो करना ही पड़ेगा, कितनी को ना करूंगी. सो आपने उसको कंडीशनिंग ही उसकी ये कर दी कि उसने डिसीजन मेकिंग नहीं करनी है लाइफ में. और फिर जब वो आती है उस स्टेज पे, जब हमारी इंटरवेंशंस आती हैं और हम उसको ये कहते हैं कि यू नीड टू स्पेस बिटवीन योर किड्स, यू नीड टू यूज अ कॉन्ट्रासेप्टिव मेथड. हमारी रॉन्ग एक्सपेक्टेशन है कि वो खड़ी होगी और वो कहेगी अपने हस्बैंड के सामने और अपनी मदर इन लॉ के सामने और कहेगी मैंने तो ये यूज करना है. सो वी नीड टू स्टार्ट young a lot earlier so that छोटी एज से उनको अपनी bodily autonomy, decision making in life in general के बारे में पता होना चाहिए. That's when they're going to be able to, that's when we will be able to see the change in our society.